you
do.
gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing. You get me?
Come on, let's get it out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
man.
good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli,
I'm Brian Thomas.
and welcome to a 4th of July Day edition of
Yeah,
the Ruthless Talk podcast. Happy 4th, Brian. How are you, my man? What's
I'm
good?
doing all
How you
right,
doing?
man. Doing all right. Got, drinking a little, starting a little,
Hey.
hey, got the day off
Starting
tomorrow.
early. It's
Yeah,
5
man.
o'clock somewhere too, right?
Somewhere.
Exactly. That's right. But also happy 4th of July, of course, to everybody who is tuning in. I'm sure maybe for most people are tuning this after the holiday. Once
For
the
sure.
holiday is over, everybody's, I'm sure, spending time with their loved ones, their family, and their friends. So, but if you are tuning this on the 4th of July, whenever this episode does drop today, happy 4th. Hope you guys have a tremendous day with all of your family, friends, and loved ones.
And don't do dumb shit. Don't do dumb shit.
Don't do dumb shit. Don't play fireworks. Don't pull a Jason Pierre-Paul and blow off your fucking
Yeah,
fingers.
man. Come on.
Don't be doing that shit, man. Come on now. We're in the middle of the summer. Things are kicking things into high gear, and especially with the world of professional wrestling. We just came off of AEW Forbidden Door. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're on the verge of Money in the Bank over in WWE land. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We got SummerSlam right around the corner, as well as AEW All In, their big pay-per-view in London, Wembley Stadium, for the second year in a row. We're going to talk a little bit about that, of what's probably up to come towards that said pay-per-view, and we'll talk more about that once we lead closer to that said show. But to start things right out the gate, man, of course, today we'll talk about Monday Night Raw, the go-home show to Money in the Bank, which is this weekend. But to start things off, let's talk a little bit about AEW. It's been a while since we've spoken about AEW, at least over the last several episodes. Of course, what better way to talk about it than Forbidden Door that just happened this past Sunday? And like every pay-per-view, or at least most pay-per-views in regards to AEW, this was a decent pay-per-view, as we expected. A lot of great wrestling, a lot of great action. If you're always into those flippy-doos and dives and power moves 24/7 nonstop, freaking Forbidden Door was the show for you. But the main takeaways that I pretty much took away from the show, one of them was Mercedes Mone. Of course, her now being Mercedes 2 belts, winning the New Japan Strong Championship along with her TBS Championship, which is great. I mean, Mercedes, listen, we talk about her and just how much it's just really good to see her, regardless of how she's been booked up to this point, but at least they're putting the spotlight on her as it should be. It's very believable for her to hold up not 1, not 2, 3, however many titles you want to put on this woman, because she is that freaking damn good. And she was heavily booed in this match with Stephanie, was her name, and shout out to her. I mean, this was was a really, really good matchup between both ladies. Both ladies had tremendous chemistry in there, and it was good for what it was. But the talk is what happened after the matchup, and we got a returning DMD, Britt Baker, as she came out and confronted Mercedes from the rampway. It was very short, it was very brief, but it got a lot of us hype, including myself, in regards to Mercedes, Britt Baker. Take my fucking money, man. Let's freaking do this. And they capitalized on it this past, or just last night, at AEW Dynamite. There was a big segment last night, Britt Baker making her return to AEW Dynamite, of course, embracing Tony Schiavone, as Tony Schiavone introduced Britt Baker to the ring. And, she's in this full-fledged babyface shtick, talking about how much she misses the fans, how much she's missed AEW. She talks about her time away, and she's talked about how over the last week she's spent it in the hospital and her time away. She's developed TIA, which is pretty much a mini stroke. She's gone through a lot, and we've talked about Britt Baker. I know there's some people that say, where's Britt Baker? Where's she at? And I've mentioned, her and her injury, but now we're hearing that it's a lot more, things are a lot more severe than we thought. So it's just, obviously we know how good Britt Baker is, and we know what she can bring to this company. But on the other end, it's also good to see her in full health. And of course, her doing what she loves to do, which is professional wrestling. That's the most important thing. So definitely touching there, cutting that babyface promo. And she talks about, just that whole process, talking to Tony Khan. Listen, before I come back, I got to get myself right. And now the present is here. I'm good. I'm cleared. And then she goes on to talk about Mercedes herself. Of course, Mercedes, ever since I've been gone, there's now been this new not up and comer, but this new talent on the rise, in this division ever since I've been gone. But the only 3 letters that truly matter in this company is DMD. And then on the Titantron, you see Mercedes Mone arrive to the arena. She's got both belts, both the New Japan Strong title and the TBS title. And this was actually really good. The Bucks, very brief, contacted everybody, all right, get the balloons, get the streamers out, put it all in the ring. And they did that while Britt Baker was in the ring to set up for Mercedes' title celebration. And then that's when Mercedes comes down to the ring, her music hits and everything. So Mercedes, of course, trying the whole shtick is that her spotlight was taken away this past Sunday when Britt interfered or came in return. And now here's Mercedes kind of trying to do the one up and now trying to take the spotlight away from Britt Baker. And this was a tremendous face-to-face, man. Really, really good stuff. As Britt Baker pretty much laid the challenge for All In towards Mercedes Mone, as we expected. And she said something along the lines about how, I was one of the first females in AEW, and she talks about kind of being one of, I guess, a pioneer in AEW, right?
Right.
The last All In last year, she was just a broke bitch with a broke leg. And then that's when Mercedes kind of just slightly shoves freaking Britt's face, and she's like, bitch, I'm never broke. I'm always rich or whatever.
Right.
It was just freaking great. She's like, get back in the line, bitch, or get into the back of the line. And Britt looks behind her and she's like, bitch, what line? I'm Britt Baker. What are you talking about? What line? And then it ends with some more words, and then Mercedes walks off. So we're doing this, man. They're doing it. Tony Khan is doing it. And listen, I'm still on eggshells, Brian, as you know, when it comes to this company and consistently telling a story and consistently booking somebody. But I'm telling you, man, we talk about this women's division and how for so long something has just been missing, right? There's a lot of talent. You got Willow Nightingale, who's starting to come into her own as a babyface, and what they're at least trying to tell with Chris Statlander. Over there, of course, you got Tony Storm, who's the top of the top in the women's division, right?
Saraya, I still think has talent. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot that AEW, like we always say, even with the men's side, there's a lot to offer. But there was just something missing in regards to a true deep connection. But with this, man, captivating feud, a story in a feud. Forget the match, right? Because people are just going to gloss them over like the wrestling match. I don't give a shit about the match. We know what they're going to do there. But I need a feud. I need a story. I need something to captivate me through through my television screen and everybody else watching. And that segment last night, that's a pretty darn good start. You got Mercedes, who is now looking like she's officially gelling into as a heel, which should have happened since day one, since she walked into this fucking company, but they're doing it now. And it's so good to see. It's just a lot more natural. It's a lot more believable. I mean, look the way she dresses, for fuck's sake. She's got her fucking crazy hair. She's outfit.
Got CEO in her hair, man.
Right. It's just how can you look at this person I want to cheer this person. Come on, dude. She's just a natural heel. It just comes off so much more believable. And Britt Baker as this babyface shtick, who a better way to elevate a heel Mercedes than a Britt Baker. And Britt Baker's done some good stuff as a heel as well, but she's also, especially with this injury and kind of really telling her story with her injury and all that stuff, she can be a really tremendous babyface and a believable as such. But this, Brian, could legit be the feud that everybody, especially AEW fans and wrestling fans, this can be the feud, the women's feud in AEW that truly puts this women's division on the map. Like, seriously, like this could elevate. And we talk about Toni Storm and the work that she has done, but we're talking about a feud, a story, captivation within two different people. This legit could do it if they continue this momentum. They build off of what they did last night. And, so far, so good is all I can say. So, Brian, what are your thoughts, man? As we're 10 minutes into the show, what are your thoughts with Britt or DMD versus CEO? What are your thoughts, man? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, first let me start with Britt, man. I mean, shout out to her. Listen, what she said, she's been dealing with it in my line of work. I mean, any given day, I work with people that have had those episodes. And, yeah, man, I mean, if you can't regain feeling, strength, whatever, you can't wrestle, man. Like, that's over. So happy to see her back. Hope obviously she remains healthy and maybe it was just some fluke thing. But yeah, all love and shout out to her. Great to see her back and just health being number one. And sure. I kind of do like this angle where they're going with these two, where like Britt, as far as the women's AEW division, she's it. Like, even with Mercedes here, like, she's been there from day one, and she's earned that. And even with Mercedes now, showing up and like kind of having that interaction with the Bucks, obviously leaning more towards the heel type shit and the heel character. I think that's what you got to do. And look, I mean, when Mercedes signed here, like, other than this match, hoping that a Britt Baker would return, if we're being honest, I mean, yeah, there's some good, if she could, a feud with Toni Storm right now or whatever. Yeah, sure, great, whatever. But this was the match, Mercedes and Britt. I mean, that's what, we all hoped that this would culminate to. So, I hope, I hope it is good storytelling, man. It's funny. I just watched this, the WWE rival shows, they show from time to time. Booker T, Stone Cold, right? That was a great fucking feud. But tell me if you remember any of those matches. No, you remember the segments and the storyline that they told with the characters they were developing. That's what you remember.
The supermarket brawl, bro. I still remember it to this day.
The church, when they were in the church.
Yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
the fireman, when Stone Cold dressed up as the fireman. That's what you remember. The storytelling, the character, man. And they did it perfectly. 100%. And yes, Britt and Mercedes are going to go in there and have good to great matches. I'm sure of it. But you got to tell, in AEW, you got to be consistent and tell the fucking stories and build the characters, man. So hopefully they do that. I'm so happy Britt's back. Yeah, man. Like, let's do this thing, but fucking do it right, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. I couldn't said it any better myself, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, as good as Toni Storm is doing with her title reign and everything, there's just
this was the match. Like,
this was the match, and especially for Mercedes, like, right out the gate, you knew the first thing that came to mind when you're thinking, oh, Mercedes, maybe even before she even joined the company, when she, talking about AEW, like, dude, her and Britt Baker in a feud,
absolutely,
sign me up, and here we are, and who knows? And now the real question is, Brian, is that who goes over in this match at All In? That's the real question, because I do expect this to be potentially, this is going to carry throughout the summer. This is probably going to be, you're going to see a match probably at All In, and then you're probably going to see another match for probably AEW All Out in September, for the most part. So I'm guessing
I say Mercedes goes over in the first match, because where's the money? The money's in the chase for the face.
Right, exactly. So that's what I expect things to go, because that's what's interesting about it in regards to it, because at first I was like, dang, who goes over in this match? But then I'm thinking, they're probably going to do a second match to where maybe there's more of a stipulation involved, and that's when Britt Baker gets the ultimate victory over Mercedes and everything. So we'll see. And it's going to do no harm to Mercedes if they book it right. In regards to the match and the build up and everything. But listen, these
maybe
ladies,
even down the road, man. I mean, I don't know, hopefully even again, a returning Jamie Hayter, we don't know where she's been either, but that would be fucking awesome,
Yeah,
So
Jamie Hayter can insert herself into this and definitely play a role that makes sense and that's captivating. Absolutely. Again, shout out to Jamie Hayter. No, she's been out for quite some time. I think even longer than Britt Baker's been out. So it's it'll be, and I'm sure it'll be very meaningful, of course, for her and her family, but also for some wrestling fans that are fans of her. But no doubt she can definitely play a certain role in this
and that's
story.
another is she from England?
I believe.
Where's she from?
So I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to say
shit, man. Like, if she makes a return here at All In, man,
or at AEW All In,
yeah. I mean,
that continues, and that can continue the feud towards AEW All Out. So, yeah. I mean, listen,
I think it sets up nicely with all these. Yeah, really
for
does.
sure. Yeah, and I'm just at the one thing that I'm honestly just really glad that they're starting to do more, and that is put Mercedes in this heel role, because ever since she's joined AEW as a face, nothing has clicked, right? She had that big moment in Boston, right? And everything. And then after that, man, they've tried to push her as the face. Nobody was buying into it. And her shtick and what she's been involved in. And yeah, she's had her moments with Willow Nightingale and with Chris Statlander, but something was missing in regards to what she was involved in, Captivation, right? And it's weird how they kept her off or out of the ring, when her strength is in the ring. And it was just the booking of her from when she debuted to up until this point now has been very, very odd. But now in this heel role, and you saw her with the Bucks too, like the way she looks and dresses with the EVPs, the Bucks, and the Bucks. All right, production, get the balloons, get the streamers, let's go now. And Britt Baker's still in the ring and everything. But you see those people, Mercedes and the Bucks side by side. It just makes sense for
it
them
does.
to,
and as much as the Bucks kind of irritate me right now, like that Mercedes pairing with them, yes, that works beautifully.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, they irritate the shit out of you, but guess what? So does Mercedes. Like she probably wants you to hate her, man. Like that's her shtick. She did it so tremendously well in NXT for so long, especially in that matchup with Bayley, which is why I praise that matchup being one of the best women's matches ever in women's wrestling ever. And it's so glad that to see Sasha, or Mercedes, I'm still going to call her Sasha to a degree too.
Right.
I mean,
I have a feeling she'll be Sasha again one day at some point.
You see the poster behind me. I mean, listen, you guys know how much I freaking love this gal, and all of her most memorable moments. Brian, you talked about not just the matchups, because we know what Mercedes can do in the ring, but it's the moments that gravitate towards this match, and a lot of those moments for Mercedes has been as a heel, right? When she turned on Bianca with her feud against Bayley, when she turned on, or when she came back to WWE in 2019 and she turned on Natalya and she turned heel with her blue hair and everything. Like those, like her best moments is when she thrives as a heel, because the character is just more believable as a heel. And that's just it, man. So I'm glad that they're embracing it. They're going with it. But you got to prove it to me that you're really fully behind this story and behind these two ladies, that you're going to do it properly and you're going to do it right.
That's what I'm saying. Don't rely on just having like 3 banger matches, man. Tell a fucking story, dude.
And by the way, Jamie Hayter is from England. Yes, she's from Eastland, Hampshire, England. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. So yeah. So again, and there's a lot of ways that you can go about this. I'm sure, like I mentioned earlier, this is going to carry throughout the summer, as it should. Look, I don't need to see Britt Baker in the ring 24/7. As good as Mercedes is, and the more you should be showcasing Mercedes in the ring, I don't need to see her in the ring 24/7 every single week. Put them in segments, put them in a story that is going to captivate people and want to see this on a week-by-week basis, man, because not only does this company need it, Brian, but the women's division desperately fucking needs it.
For sure.
Again, as much
and these
as
two women can do it, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
They can.
And you can't pick any two better talents like Britt and Mercedes to tell this story and to put, AEW and the company in your flagship show on its back is with these two ladies, man. It couldn't have honestly come at a better time with this big set event for AEW All In, as well as for AEW All Out towards the end of the summer. So we'll see, man. It's just, it's so good to see as well. Mercedes is, even in WWE, you can mention how, the certain title range she's may have gotten and maybe certain moments there. But let's be honest, man, they underbooked and they underachieved Sasha Banks, Mercedes, and that company in WWE. And now you're starting to see, and hopefully this is now the case to where she becomes more of a bigger entity than she really was on the main roster for several years in WWE.
Hopefully.
So that's the hope, it's just so cool, not just as a fan, but just for her and what she has earned for getting the bare minimum, having to win titles and then give it straight back to Charlotte Flair within less than a week. And now here she is, she's thriving in AEW. She's got both of these belts, and hopefully now as a heel, that momentum rocks. And now she becomes the hottest thing right now, not literally and figuratively, in wrestling in AEW period. So, but really good stuff, man. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. These are two women that I love and respect the hell out of. And we'll see, man. Time will only tell to see where this goes. But much love to both of those ladies. Now let's get into the second topic of AEW, which is MJF. And this where it could be a little bit more controversial, right? So there was the main event. The main event of AEW Dynamite, which was for the international title. It was Will Ospreay and it was Daniel Garcia. Listen, much love to Daniel Garcia. I get it. Obviously, like later on in this match and how it ended the night, you understood why Daniel Garcia was even in this position. But man, I get it. He's got the dance and everything, but him in a main event matchup on Dynamite, man, it's just like, I don't know. If you take that freaking dance away and everything, I just don't know what else Daniel Garcia truly has to offer that's captivating people. And that's no shade to Daniel Garcia.
I think he's going to be a great wrestler, but I mean, he's 25 and right now, main event.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so.
That's what I'm saying. Like right now. And he's still young and he can improve, but he still needs to find and to gel into that true character, not just Daniel Garcia, the wrestler, but Daniel Garcia, like the character. And do you have the it factor? Can you talk on this microphone and your mannerisms and everything? He doesn't have that yet. Can he get that at some point? Sure. But right now he doesn't have it. And he damn sure should not be wrestling Will Ospreay of all people in the main event. I get why he was in this position, but on one end, it's just very odd of why he's in that position. But anyway, so Will Ospreay and Daniel Garcia have this match. MJF is pretty much in the corner of Daniel Garcia. MJF is trying to have Daniel Garcia use his diamond ring in this match while the referee's distracted. But Daniel Garcia, he's like, nah, I want to do this the right way. And then that's when Will Ospreay what's the name of Will Ospreay's finishing move?
Brian? I can't even remember that one.
I don't even
know. He's got so many moves, man.
Dude, he fucking decked Daniel Garcia, bro. Like when you're hit with that, bro, like it would be believable if Daniel Garcia isn't up for like the next.
That's the real part of wrestling, folks. Like,
and that's shit,
you get tagged every once in a while, man.
I mean, man, like this dude decked this motherfucker, bro. Like he went all in on it too. Like that was like freaking whoa, man. But he lays out Daniel Garcia, and of course retains his championship as we all expected. And then that's when Will Ospreay, Daniel Garcia's upset. He's kind of like, he's got his hands in his face. He's kind of crying. He's balled up into a corner. Will Ospreay's trying to like consult him, like, hey, your time's coming. Don't worry. There's going to be more opportunities. You see MJF in the background or whatever, as he knows he kind of like effed up and kind of cost Daniel Garcia that one. Kind of a similar scene you saw at Forbidden Door when Swerve Strickland defeated Will Ospreay, which was also a damn good matchup, by the way, as well, which was the main event of Forbidden Door. So kind of a similar scene afterwards that you saw at Forbidden Door. Will Ospreay walks up the rampway. And that's when MJF, he comes up towards Daniel Garcia and he's like, listen, that one's on me. That's not on you. These people still love you. You got nothing to be upset about. Like, I'm going to take the L on that one. That was on me. And he raises up Daniel Garcia's his hand. He gets the ovation. And you can kind of sense it from a mile away. At least from my end, I'm like, I know exactly what's coming.
It was taking way too long, man. Like yeah.
Exactly. And we all expected, wham, a freaking low blow to Daniel Garcia as freaking Daniel Garcia drops where he stands. And freaking MJF, he's got this sinister look on his face. He takes out the diamond ring. He's begging for freaking Daniel Garcia to get up. He lays out Daddy Magic, who tried to came out to help on the rampway. Danny Magic was also in a bloody mess. And then that's when he lays him out with the diamond ring. He gives him that hawk towards freaking Daniel Garcia. And dude, like MJF, man, he's screaming towards the crowd. He's amplified. This dude went off. And he continues to lay out Daniel Garcia with punches, kicks galore. Security and officials came out. He goes and hits a pile driver from the top rope, taking out Daniel Garcia for good. He's in a bloody mess. His white tank top is in a bloody mess and everything. And that's when MJF goes, or Will Ospreay goes to come to the aid finally for Daniel Garcia, and that's when MJF exit and hightails it. He goes through the crowd. Frickin' MJF is like interacting with the crowd again. I miss this MJF so much, man. As much as, and I'll talk more about it later, but he's interacting with the crowd. He's like face to face with people in the crowd, spitting on people. Like, this dude was like amplified galore. And then that's where, Will Ospreay, he's side by side with Daniel Garcia. Garcia's getting carried out of a stretcher. And that's how Dynamite goes off the air, man. Before I give my thoughts, Brian, I'm going to have you start in regards to it, because, man, that could probably go down as the shortest babyface run I probably have ever seen in my life. But I got a lot of takes that are on both sides of the fence here. But I'll let you start, Brian. What are your thoughts? MJF turning on Daniel Garcia in a potential match with Will Ospreay and MJF as well. What are your thoughts about it, man?
I might be a minute with this one. Initial thoughts, I don't like it, man. It to me, it screams first that you've already rushed the match with Ospreay and MJF, and that you didn't really have a clear-cut direction for any of these, or at least for MJF. It seems like it seems like Ospreay, you've really been trying to make the baby face. And that's great, having MJF return as a babyface. That's fine. You don't have to have these two crossing paths right now. Man, it's complicated, because in the one vein, I really do think MJF, if you make him heel, he is the best heel in that company. If you make him face, he's the best face in that company. So it's like one of those things where, like, either way, you don't really lose. But if he's the best at both, it's kind of hard to get that other person. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I feel like, he comes back, he does this shit with Adam Cole, he's a babyface for a few weeks, and now you turn him heel. In an obvious attempt to, get to Ospreay and MJF, which, I don't know, man. To me, I think you can play this out a little bit longer. Ospreay, you just saw the Don Callis segment he had, and the look and the way Don Callis said, okay, well, you're going to owe me a favor down the road. Like, that's not over. I just think this is rushed. To turn MJF within a month, or right about a month, I just think screams you didn't know what the fuck you're doing. You didn't really know, and you're just fucking
trying to right their wrongs is probably
exactly. So that's my drawback to it. I have no doubt. I mean, any heel character, MJF can get away with more shit, and it's more entertaining. So he's gonna knock it out of the park, and he would knock it out of the park if he's a face. But it's the creative, man. They don't know what the fuck they're doing half the time. With a guy like Daniel Garcia, I really do like Daniel Garcia. I think he, Again, he's a very young dude. And I think he's got great talent. When he's 30, 35, I think you'll be talking about this guy. But right now, you've had him. I don't know. I mean, you've had him, had his things with like the BCC, and he's kind of like a tough old school fighter, but he's doing the dance. And now you have him have a great fucking match, and now he's in the room like not crying, like bawling, like crying, like
right.
what it doesn't fit him. Like, yeah, be distraught, be angry, be upset. You lost the match. It was a hard fought match, but dude, you are breaking down in the corner. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then with Ospreay, I think Ospreay is the only one really right now that comes out like looking semi okay because he's still playing the face part and being the good guy. I think for Garcia and MJF here, it kind of is just like, what the fuck, man? Like, what the fuck? Like, you kind of thought there was going to be this partnership between Garcia and MJF. Well, no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, MJF's going to kill it on the mic in the ring. But I think they're really rushing this Ospreay MJF thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and you can definitely look at it on one end and say it's definitely a 180 in regards to MJF, because obviously the plan was to have MJF go on this babyface run, have this new leaf, and and it's disappointing because we've said it for weeks too. It's like we thought that we were going to see himself or MJF himself and Adam Cole, and they completely fucked it. They fucked it with Undisputed Kingdom. They effed it because they didn't book them properly. They didn't really put all the puzzle pieces together because Adam Cole was hurt, and they completely fucked it, and they botched it. And because of that animosity or that intrigue to say, oh man, when MJF comes back as a babyface and that feud against Adam Cole, but once they completely cut that off, MJF is he's just a babyface just there. I mean, just having random matches with, again, I don't know who the fuck he faced in Long Island against at Forbidden Door. It's just, and so it's on one end it's disappointing, and on one end it's like, yeah, they're trying to right their wrongs, because clearly in this situation, turning MJF heel in such a short amount of time, you have had him as a face character, you effed up. That's telling us that you effed up, and you're calling this 180 in this audible. But I will say, Brian, when it comes to MJF, and if you really think about it, right, you have people like Will Ospreay, who's a face right now. Swerve Strickland, who is your world champion, that's a baby face. Who are truly, outside of maybe the Bucks, who you can't really even take them as like maybe like a top heel because they're a tag team in the company. Who else is the top heel in this company?
Yeah,
there's nobody.
I mean,
Christian Cage,
Cage,
but
the Learning Tree and Jericho,
the Learning Tree and Jericho. But I'm talking like people in the prime of their careers.
Yeah, right.
Who is the top heel in this company? And unfortunately, this is how we had to make that call, as to where if we're gonna get to a Will Ospreay MJF match, if we're gonna have that top heel on our flagship show, it's MJF, because there's nobody else that's going to fucking do it better. So I get why they did it. And for the long term, it's the right call to make. But absolutely no doubt, this shows that AEW creative Tony Khan, they completely fucked up on this babyface run. And for how soon this babyface run was, it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth and being like, man, like you really effed this up. But moving forward, and yeah, you're right to a degree. To a degree, it's rushed, this matchup. Now, here's what I will say with Daniel Garcia's end. So coming up on July 24th will be Blood and Guts. Blood and Guts is that weekly pay-per-view that AEW likes to put out. That is probably when you'll most likely see MJF will face Daniel Garcia. And then that's how you'll most likely get to MJF and Will Ospreay at AEW All In. And I guess because, we talked about, the chase, right? The whole thing is in the chase and whatever, towards the said bad guy that's MJF. I guess maybe MJF goes over in this first matchup, but do they dare have Will Ospreay, because he lost against Swerve, and now this next big pay-per-view he loses again? That's pretty ballsy. That's pretty ballsy to do.
Let me say this too about Ospreay, man. Shout out to Ospreay, really, truly, because if you believe what you read on the internet or whatever, and I do believe there's some truth to this, that people were looking at Strickland like a placeholder champion, and of course Ospreay is going to beat him, and whatever. It seems like Ospreay and kind of was like, nah, we're not doing that, and so shout out to him if that's really how it went down, because I think that's I think that it's kind of been dirty a little bit how Strickland's been the champion anyway, but to have him lose there, so shout out to Ospreay on that, man. That seems
absolutely.
Like a straight up thing, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Because I know we were kind of both concerned about Swerve Strickland's case in regards to the title and just how, and even like I said, to top that off, to give Will Ospreay the title, and then just to kind of, like you said, to a degree, like maybe rush this matchup with MJF and Will Ospreay just for the big event in London. So, I mean, on one end, it definitely exposes Tony Khan and AEW to go in this 180 because of just how short this babyface run is. But on the other hand, man,
a heel MJF is going to be entertaining. It's going to be the most entertaining person in wrestling, period.
Absolutely. As well as this flagship show, and this company needs that top heel in the company. And I'm not talking a Christian Cage. I'm not talking about Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree, right? Those have a certain place. But I'm talking the top heel in the company. Yep. It's MJF, because there's nobody else that's going to play that role better. And honestly, Brian, if I'm being honest with you, this MJF is the best MJF, to be quite honest with you. And I think it's best for the company, because clearly they didn't have a plan. They probably just had the Adam Cole feud, and that was it. And then once that was kind of cut off, you kind of can tell that there was really no true said direction. There wasn't really to really care about MJF and what he's doing, right? As much as we like and we we have respect for MJF, there just wasn't anything to grasp of what MJF was doing. But now, as a heel, and I don't think this is going to be the shtick to where, he's kind of more of that cowardly chicken shit heel, maybe still to a degree with the scarf and everything, but kind of more of like a vindictive type of character, right? With the leather jacket and all. You'll probably still see him come out
more
there
of kind of, dare I say, the Triple H heel,
heel character. Exactly. That's exactly where my mind was going. Like the heel character in the early 2000s of Triple H, back in the day, way back in the day, is probably, and now you'll see to that same degree for MJF. And dude, I'm all for it, man.
Me too.
I'm truly all for it. Listen, Will Ospreay and MJF, because listen, we talked about this match going to happen because you knew at some point it was going to happen, right? And we kind of questioned how they were going to get to this point. But now, it's not just a face versus face thing, right? It's not just MJF and being like, oh, I want to be the best wrestler in the world, right? This person says he's the best wrestler, and this person says he's the best. No, but you're looking at the best wrestler in the world. I'm like, okay, that's the story that we're playing here, is just being the best wrestler in a world. When, again, guys, like, listen, much love to these talents and these athletes, but we got to pull the curtain back just a little bit. These matches are predetermined, man. I don't give a shit about who's the best wrestler, in-ring technical wrestler in the world, right? We can make our takes and our arguments with selective people, but the main thing is, man, like, I just want a story. I just want to connect with a character and a storyline and make it make sense and make it captivating for everybody. So I can see where people may feel about this certain situation. I definitely I had all the feels once this turn was done. I'm like, wow, they really did this turn in such a short amount of time with this face run. But then the more this turn was happening, I'm like, first of all, this is badass because MJF is just gelling into it. But on one hand, I'm just thinking long term. I'm just like, talking about, the top heels in the company, like I mentioned earlier, it just makes sense to do it. You're right. it proves to you that this company doesn't know what the fuck they were doing, especially with MJF and others. But long term, making this 180, it just makes sense to make things, just go in a direction where it gains momentum and things don't go off the rails. To that degree.
For sure.
So, yeah,
I would just say that, MJF's definitely the most entertaining as a heel, for sure. So I got no problem with him being heel. And even this match, dare I say, obviously you got to take, who knows, injuries happen and whatever. But I would almost rather see this match a year from now and give this time to grow and build. And like you said, like I said, Don Callis still has involvement with Ospreay. Something's still going to happen there.
Yeah.
And you have time to build MJF as this really like badass heel, against the ultimate babyface and Ospreay.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm glad that they decided to go the route with MJF being the heel, because you can tell Will Ospreay is gaining a lot more of popularity, and he's gaining a lot more fan intrigue from the crowd week by week on a daily basis. So it makes sense to keep Will Ospreay as that, arguably that top face of your flagship show right now, for the most part. But yeah, no doubt, because Will Ospreay is still very new to at least now being officially a member of this roster or a talent on this roster. I mean, he's been on the flagship show multiple times, but of course still being a talent on New Japan Pro Wrestling. So yeah, no, it's definitely rushed, and you could especially now with MJF just turning heel, and now within a month span, you're going to have this big match. But you want the big names, you want the big matchup, you want at least the big feud for your big Wembley show in London. So I get why they're doing it, but yeah, no, I agree to where you're coming from, Brian, to a certain degree, to where like we can maybe wait this out to kind of build both of these people strong enough to where it even gains a lot more intrigue when they finally, start to butt heads. Yeah. So yeah. And like I said, with Daniel Garcia he's going to probably come back within the span of maybe a week or so, and they're going to set up a matchup at Blood and Guts. That's going to further along probably MJF and Will Ospreay, because we've saw like the teases over the last week or so where Will Ospreay was trying to upstage MJF, and I guess that's the story that they're probably going to play. Yeah. So look, man, it's Will Ospreay at the end of the day, and it's MJF. I got no fucking complaints. Yes, they could no doubt had this match a year from now and build these two up properly. But if you want to put this matchup on the legit, like the biggest show that is probably on in their entire calendar year, which is AEW London or All In London, I totally get it from a business standpoint of why they want to do that. So yeah, man, look, we say this, Brian, like a broken record with AEW. There's a lots to offer in this company, a lot. We talk about Tony Storm, we talk about the Bucks, and we talk about MJF being returning even as the babyface, but now you got MJF and Will Ospreay, and now you got Mercedes and Britt Baker, bro. Things can get really good if things work
absolutely.
out. Yeah, and there's a lots to at least be hopeful for and to be intrigued by. But at the end of the day, when it comes to AEW, they got to prove it to us, man, by their actions, right? Don't just tell us, be like, hey, look at, you got Mercedes and you got Britt. But now prove it to us with your actions, with your booking, that you truly are fully on board on making this fully special towards your biggest show that is All In. And it's also going to be interesting too, Brian, to close this out, Swerve Strickland and where he kind of now goes within all of this, right? Does he insert himself with MJF and Will Ospreay?
See, I don't think so. And that's,
And who knows?
You run the risk of too, man. Like while you say, you got MJF and Ospreay here. Yes, that's great. Swerve's your champion, man. Do not fucking put him on the back burner, dude.
Right. Yeah. And that's my concern too. It's just like, don't just make the world champion and your other champions on this, or in this company, on this flagship show, just kind of just an afterthought and kind of just underneath the radar. And that's where I can legit see if Swerve Strickland doesn't get inserted into this, which is why I do feel to a certain degree he can get inserted into this. I mean, we'll soon find out. But just,
I mean,
yeah, man.
I mean, I don't want to keep this going too long, but I mean, who, like, okay, if you take Osprey and MJF out of the equation, you know, who's the guy that's going to be challenging Swerve? I mean, you know, Moxley, no. Danielson, no. I mean, like, who's there?
Hangman again? Hangman Adam Page?
Hangman. Well, they've already had that shit. Like, please.
That's the
shout out to
that's
Hangman
the thing,
returning.
yeah.
But like, no, can't be
But
Hangman.
that's the thing, though, Brian. I can see them running it back because
Oh no,
I know, but I could see them running it back.
And
to
Hangman,
where,
if you noticed in that match, he has like a little bit different demeanor. You know, a little bit. You know, I still say with Hangman, like he's not with Swerve. You know, hopefully Omega's close to returning. You got to keep that all elite. Keep that to itself. Do all elite with all elite shit, man. No Hangman and Swerve. Fuck that.
But the reason why I say that, though, Brian, is that during his matchup with Jeff Jarrett, this of course was the Owen Hart tournament, which again,
shout out to Owen, rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace to Owen Hart, and much love to him. But I can't stand tournaments. I don't give a shit about the freaking tournament. I truly don't. But I was able to watch as soon as I turned on AEW Dynamite. I had to go back and watch everything else later on. But as soon as I turned on the TV, Hangman Adam Page came out with this new theme song and everything. I wish I cared more about Hangman Adam Page to say, "Oh my God, it's Hangman Adam Page! Holy shit!" Right?
Yeah.
But I was just like, "Cool, it's good to see him." Like that was my genuine reaction.
Yep.
But during that match, bro, a crowd chanted "Swerve's House," trying to get somewhat underneath the skin of Hangman Adam Page. So like it's coming. And right now, Hangman Adam Page, I don't know what his shtick is. I guess he's right now the tweener. He reminds me of Drew McIntyre right now. Drew McIntyre for a long time has been a tweener character. And I really feel like that's what they're going to be doing with Hangman Adam Page, at least for quite some time, which I don't like. But that seems like what they're going to do. And it seems like that you're going to most likely see Swerve and Hangman again for the gazillionth fucking time. Yeah.
Again, I don't want to harp on this, but again, you've already told the story of the Bucks kicked Omega and Hangman out of the Elite. They kicked both of them out, right? So, and now Hangman comes back as and they alluded to it on the commentary of like, oh, the Bucks, you got Hangman here. He's the surprise opponent, as if like the Bucks did Hangman a favor or something, right? This story has to be told between the Elite, man. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, don't do this shit with Swerve and Hangman again. And I mean, really, like you're alluding to it already. The Bucks have kicked Hangman out, and now you're telling me the Bucks invited him back to give him a spot in this tournament in hopes to win. What the fuck?
Like I said, and listen, man, and even though there's things to be intrigued by, there's still a lot of things that are very, very befuddling to that degree. So, but we'll see. We shall see. Again, I'm not going to give AEW the benefit of the doubt yet. I give these talents the benefit of the doubt because whatever they're been given, they will knock it out of the park. But it's up
the writers,
Yep. No, absolutely none. I'm on eggshells with those fucking people, as I'm sure you are too, Brian.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But let's move on to WWE World. Let's move on to WWE for Monday Night Raw. And we also got, if we have time, we'll maybe give some predictions along with each of these topics if we do have time. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But let's start off this review show for Monday Night Raw. Let's start off with the ladies. You have Liv Morgan defending her women's world title against Zelina Vega. You had Dominic out there. He's trying to slide Zelina Vega a steel chair to help Zelina win the match. And Selena's like, no, thank you. That distraction caused Liv Morgan to take advantage, hitting the Oblivion, and Liv Morgan wins the matchup. Good matchup, by the way, as I expected it would be. Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, and this is just a side rant here. Dude, Zelina Vega might be one of the most underappreciated and most underlooked talents in this company. Seriously, like she can rock the microphone. You don't realize how good she can be in that fucking ring. Like this woman is really good, bro. I'm not saying like she's a Mercedes or she's like to a degree, maybe like a Becky Lynch or whatever, but this woman is damn freaking good, bro. If you give her the opportunity, she's not just a manager or just a mouthpiece, bro. She proved it against Rhea Ripley in Backlash in Puerto Rico not too long ago, man. This woman is damn good. And I just hope that she just doesn't go back to the whole LWO thing. And now she's underneath the radar. So hopefully in the future, there's said plans for Zelina Vega, because my God, man, this woman has it in spades, man. At least there's potential there for the most part. And then, of course, you also had Ray and Dominic in a matchup. You had that whole scene, that similar scene to where Liv Morgan comes out. Freaking Ray does like a baseball slide, knocks Dominic off the apron, and lands onto Liv Morgan. And they were in that very precarious situation, right? So kind of just like, in that same type of setting, for the most part. And that, involvement with Liv Morgan costs Dominic the matchup. And then you had Zelina Vega just smiling from ear to ear, acting like she just didn't lose a fucking title match earlier on in the night. So here's my thing, Brian. I'll let you get your thoughts, and we'll go into Priest and Rollins, the other side of like the Judgment Day spiel with Finn Balor. We'll get to that later on. But the women's match I liked, and honestly, I prefer if you would have just left it there. The Dominic Ray match, we've seen this match. We saw it at the peak at WrestleMania.
I thought this was over a year ago. Like not this past Mania, but it was a Mania before. Like
the Mania before, right? Yeah. Exactly. And we're still doing this shit between. And listen, I get it, because there's hostility now with Liv and Zelina, and now it's Ray and Dom. They have history, so I get why you're trying to connect those puzzle pieces together. Right. But now it's like Rey Mysterio and Dominic butting heads, especially, they also fought, I believe, it was on a multi-tag match at WrestleMania this past year, right? Mm-hmm. With freaking LWO and everyone else, right? With freaking, what was it? With Garza and Santos Escobar. It was Santos Escobar, Dominic, and I'm forgetting the other people that were in this match. But you had that, and now you have this one-on-one match again. All of this, honestly, was just... It was fine. I'm not saying it was bad. It was just not needed. And dare I say it was just kind of lazy, because you had Zelina Vega just smiling from ear to ear. Oh, well, I helped Rey Mysterio beat Dominic. Forget that I just lost the title match earlier on in the night. It's just, I don't like how we portrayed Zelina Vega in that way. You could have just done the Liv and Zelina match and kind of just been done with it. Honestly, could have just left it at that, and I would have been fine with it. So those are my thoughts. Brian, what are your thoughts about this whole situation?
Man, I'll start with like Ray and Dom, man. I mean, look, the only thing, either WWE move away from this, or you do the only thing that there's left to do, and at some point have them reunite together. That's it. Like the feud, the match after match, this stipulation, that stipulation. Oh, Judgment Day, LWO, like it's done. It's over. It's so run into the ground. Yeah. So either you have them reunite, or you move away, you have them away from each other, period.
Yeah.
As far as, Liv, I think she's still, solidifying herself in this character, which I think she's the best she's ever been in WWE. And with Zelina, I think she is going to be always underrated, undervalued, and unfortunately, due to two things, mostly her size and that she's a woman. Like somebody that like Rey Mysterio to some degree did overcome that because he was a phenomenal male wrestler. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that exists in the female division just yet, but she is more talented than the amount of time or the storylines that we see her on TV. But I think she's one of, because she is such a tiny woman. She is. Compared to other WWE superstars, and I that's going to hold her back. I think that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, no, and then that's just unfortunate, man. It's like the same card with a Daniel Bryan, right? It's just like kind of like his size and everything and all. You could say the same thing about a Tommaso Ciampa, to where Tommaso Ciampa, like he's really, I mean, he's good. He's a good talent and all. We saw what he did in NXT. That was his peak. But he's not really
he's
that
amazing.
Yeah. Same with a Johnny Gargano and both a Ciampa and a Johnny Gargano. They're just the size, I guess, kind of just holds them back to a certain degree, as well as other male talents and even female talents. So that's really all I got, man, in regards to it. I mean, I really just would have preferred if they just would have left it off with just the title match, and that was
me too.
It was kind of just lazy, and it was just not truly needed to just go through that match again, to where there's nothing else in the ring that we need to see between Dominic and Rey Mysterio anymore.
Nothing at all, unless you're going to reunite them as a tag team at some sort, or one of them having each other's back, and stop it.
Right. And you know what's coming too, though, Brian. You know what's coming, right?
What do you mean?
A mixed tag match. You know it's coming.
Yeah, for sure. Liv and Dom, Liv and Dom and Zelina
against Rey and Zelina Vega, right? Yep. Which is, I mean, on one end, the storytelling between Dom and Liv, to where Dom's like, all right, I don't want to tag with this woman. Like, what are we doing here? So that portion will be cool, but it's just like that whole shtick is coming. You're gonna see Rey and Dominic come to blows. You're gonna see Zelina and Liv come to blows. It's just like, I'm telling you, man, it's fucking coming, and and you're probably gonna see that on the fallout of Money in the Bank. You're gonna see some type of mixed tag, or at least some way, shape, or form in the near future. You are definitely gonna see that for sure.
It's still within this whole storyline. It's still the most baffling part of it is why Zelina gives a fuck anyway, right? There's never, like, why did she decide to get involved? Like, I know they're trying to loosely tie the LWO into it, but what Dom and Liv are doing and Rhea Ripley being out, like, why the fuck is Zelina involved in that? Like, it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, they haven't put in anything in regards to Zelina, nor the LWO, nor nothing. Yeah. So there's really nothing there to really truly just draw you into what Zelina Vega is doing and why she's even here. So it's just very odd. Again, shout out to Liv Morgan. She continues to crush it. She was like walking up the rampway trying to like plead with Dominic. Like, I'm so sorry, Dominic. Like, let's not. Like, they're already fighting. They're not even a couple and they're fighting. Which is fucking hilarious. Oh my god!
Funny, like Dom just like tried to like pretend she's not even there, and it's good. It's good, and it makes it all better because we know Rhea's coming back, man, and that's what makes this whole fucking thing so good.
Absolutely, no, for sure, absolutely. All right, let's move on to our next topic, man. Our next topic is with Priest and Rollins. Now, I will backtrack here because there was a backstage segment that does involve both Finn Balor and Damian Priest, as that will kind of make sense with this segment later with Seth Rollins. So you had Dominic and Priest. They were about to enter the clubhouse, and like Priest, goes to Dominic. It's like, listen, are you two good? Are you and Rhea good? Like, yeah, we're good. I talked to her good. She's like, oh, really? Because I just spoke with Rhea, and she's pissed, dude. Like, what are you like? What's going on here?
Yeah,
and
Rhea ain't good, man.
And like Dominic's like, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And Damian Priest is great. It's like, dude, you say this every week and you do nothing. Priest has been really good on the microphone.
He has.
His confidence has really gelled. Yep. And I do give him credit. Do I think he should be holding on to this world title? No, but it is cool to see his confidence and just how his mannerisms are and everything. Like, he's really gelling into it. And I give full on respect and kudos towards Damian Priest. So they enter the clubhouse and Liv Morgan's there. They're playing, I guess, WWE 2K in the clubhouse or whatever. This was right before the match between Liv and Zelina. And then that's when Finn Balor kind of pulls Damian Priest aside and talking about what Damian Priest said last week. It's like, oh, like you don't need us. Like, what's going on? We just your sidekicks or whatever. And Damian Priest like, listen, no, it's like everything that I said last week it's not false. Like, I'm the champion. No, just like how we needed Rhea, right, at the time, because she was the champion, right? She didn't need us. We needed her. right? It's the same goes now for me as champion. Like, I don't need you, but you guys need me to help, because I'm the champion. I'm now the guy, I guess, of this faction. So,
Right.
Damian Priest trying to make some sense out of this. And Priest is like, or Finn Balor is like, listen, he's like, like, you're my brother. Like, I know you're going to beat Rollins, but I'm telling you this right now. Ever since you won that title, you've changed, and kind of just walks off. So it's coming. They've continuing to plant the seeds there between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. But then later on, you have Seth frickin' Rollins himself in his same shtick and the same fucking entrance, the same entrance that I fucking mute nonstop 24/7 because I can't fucking stand it. And I got something to say with Rollins and everything else later on in the show once we close out the show. So Seth Rollins comes out again, does his shtick or whatever. He's is pandering to the Boston crowd, talking about the Boston Celtics and the fans going berserk because they're Celtics fans. They're in Boston, right? So Finn Balor then comes out, trying, walks out to the stage, I guess, being there for Damian Priest, trying to, I guess, upstage Rollins, and then that's when Priest comes into the picture, and Priest once again, he's like, listen, telling Finn Balor, like, stay out of this. I don't need your help. Something along those lines, at least to that degree. And then Seth Rollins is like, listen, we don't got to wait till Money in the Bank. There was interaction there with him and Priest. We don't got to wait till Money in the Bank. Let's do this right here, right now. And then Priest is like, all right, let's do it. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Finn Balor just attacks Seth Rollins from behind. And then Finn Balor's like urging Priest to join him on to beat down Seth, but he's not doing it. He's just like, dude, what are you doing? I keep telling you, I don't need your help. Like, what are we doing? And that miscommunication or that, distraction allowed Seth to take advantage, take out Finn Balor, while Priest was eventually knocked down to a certain degree, takes out Finn Balor with the stomp. Priest takes out Rollins with the South of Heaven chokeslam. And then he eventually, checks up on Finn Balor, who was laid out. Kind of like that, more of like, all right, like, I feel bad to a certain degree because you just got laid out, but at the same time, I'm still pissed on why you even inserted yourself. Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. That sort of degree. And then like Finn Balor's looking, I'm like, dude, like if you would have just helped me out earlier, we wouldn't be in this fucking mess, man. So that, of course, there's just that a lot of tension that's rising between the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Priest, as we get closer to Money in the Bank. So Brian, what do you think, man? As we are now several days away from Money in the Bank, what do you think, bro? Because right now, my head is telling me that Rollins is going to win this title, and Rollins is going to win this title and go on to face Gunther, and it's going to be at the expense of Finn Balor. And that's how you're going to get Finn Balor and Priest in this feud. And that's most likely is what's going to happen. Finn Balor is going to get involved some way or somehow into this match. Rollins is going to win this title, and then he's going to eventually use that title to go or to take the pinfall, take the L to Gunther at SummerSlam. But what are your thoughts, man? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with everything you said there. Just, the who eventually ends up with the title at SummerSlam. I mean, that's how we've been talking about months of like, we see this breakup of the Judgment Day coming, and I guess the only really question left is like, do you have them kind of break up before Rhea comes back, or does Rhea have to come back first before they break up? I guess really that's the only question, and who knows when Rhea's coming back. But I mean, it's this has been going on now for like what, 2, maybe even dare I say 3 months, man. Like just this little like tension and whatever, and the so yeah, I'd agree with you. Something's got to happen here at Money in the Bank where Finn comes out trying to help, but causes Priest the match.
Yeah.
And then again, do you then just go into the Judgment Day breaking up, or are we waiting for Rhea to come back?
Yeah.
So yeah, but and then I agree with you with Rollins. Rollins winning with the same old shtick. I don't know. This whole thing seems to me like, because I think most wrestling fans would all agree, we all expected Rollins to be out much longer than this. And it almost feels like he's just coming back to get that title, to sell SummerSlam, to lose again, and then be gone for a little bit. I don't know why, but that's just what I'm thinking, man. Because it just doesn't. I don't know. Rollins being inserted back into this, just something doesn't feel right about it.
Yeah.
But that's the way I see it going. Yes, Rollins going to win the title here, and then I would hope lose it at SummerSlam to Gunther. So yeah, we'll see. And then yes, the feud and the breakup of the Judgment Day is, you got to kick that into high gear, you would think, at this point.
Yeah, and kick things into high gear with Gunther and winning this title, because I'll be honest with you too, man. It's just like Gunther, he goes to the ring with his crown and his nice little suit, and then you don't see him for a week, and then he comes back. It's just like, I don't know what we're doing with Gunther either to gain somewhat of intrigue going into this said match, potentially with Seth Rollins. It's just because like Seth Rollins, maybe he's not a ploy, but he's definitely there because this company knows that Priest and Gunther is just not going to captivate a lot of people. That's just it. It's like, oh, it's Seth Rollins, it's SummerSlam. You know, it's to buy it's to have people subscribe to the Peacock network and to watch the show. That's why he's pretty much inserted into this. He's going to win that title. Gunther's going to take it away from him, and you're probably going to see a nice lengthy title reign from Gunther. My problem is with Gunther ever since he's won this tournament, this King of the Ring tournament. I just don't know. There's just a lot more.
Where's he been?
What the fuck are we doing with this guy? There's so much more intrigue with Liv and even with Chad Gable, dare I say, and with the Wyatt Sicks and a lot of other entities in the show. Gunther is not even the second, third, even fourth thing in the show that even comes to mind when you think of Monday Night Raw, because of just how poorly he's been inserted in this whole world title shtick. Like, he just went out there several weeks ago and says, all he said was like, oh, it doesn't matter who the champion is because I'm going to beat you. And then you don't even fucking see him this week. What are we doing with this fucking guy, man? Listen, Gunther, he should be a top guy. He should be a top talent. Him holding onto a world title for a long period of time makes sense. And he's talented as shit. We know that. But what are you doing to get Gunther to this point? What are you doing with these talents to get to this certain point, to give them the title, to give them this victory, to do whatever? That's the problem. So I don't know. It's definitely a mess. And it definitely, like you said, Brian, something just feels off, not just with Seth, but also with Gunther. And you said it from the jump to where the whole, here's this title opportunity once you win the King of the Ring tournament, and you did it so last second, and now all of a sudden you really think about it and you're like, well, damn, now you're just in a pickle, because how does Gunther not walk out of SummerSlam with that world title now? And that just causes a lot of just weird situations. So I don't know, man. With Priest and Balor, the whole shtick there, I don't mind it there. Hopefully, like you said, that kind of kicks into high gear. The interactions backstage is fine. Not great, but fine. It's cool. It keeps me to say, all right, I want to see where potentially this goes. And whatever the case may be. So, but Priest, much love to Priest, man. As much as I don't think he should be holding on to this world title at all, because I think they're just having him use this world title to kind of get himself over, which just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, why would you give someone the title to try to get them over when you give somebody the title that's already over? LA Knight, just saying. And I got some words to say about LA Knight, like I said, later on in the show, but let's move on to our next topic here in regards to the Wyatt Sicks, as well as Chad Gable. And we start off the show, and this is how it starts off, is main event Jey Uso. He comes through like the concourse area where concessions are. Fans are yeeting everywhere and freaking going nuts and everything. And listen, much love again to Jay. I mean, it is really cool to a degree to see him develop a certain connection with his entrance and his shtick, the yeet stuff. It's cool. It's good to see, and I'm happy for him. But I'm telling you, man, like, I'll save it for later. I'm going to save it later. But so he comes out there. And he cuts his promo, he's pandering to the crowd. And that's when Chad Gable comes out talking, of course, about Money in the Bank. That's what Jey Uso was talking about him, winning, what was it? Yeet in the bank or some shit. Like, again, we're taking these silly fucking puns or whatever. And we're hammering the fucking yeet slang into the ground. And I'm just like, enough, man. Listen, the whole like Stone Cold Steve Austin, what? Like that was like,
even though, even at my time back in that era, like, I mean, I liked it because it was still Stone Cold.
Yeah.
But when it was much different, like the first 2-3 years of Stone Cold and the last like 2 years of Stone, that was annoying as shit to me.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And I can see it being that way. But for Stone Cold, like in that shtick, like they didn't like hammer it into where like they made. Like, even with LA Knights, right? It's just like, it sounds cool to do. With the word yeet, it's just like, and then you try to use these silly little puns like, oh, I'm about to yeet your ass. I'm about to win the yeet in the bank, and whatever the case may be. It's just like, enough, man. If you want to just say yeet, just say yeet. Don't try to make silly little weird childish puns with it. That just is a massive turnoff, and it just shoves it into the ground. It just gets real. That's where it gets annoying. So that's all I got to say about that. But of course, Jey Uso's talking about Money in the Bank, winning Money in the Bank. Chad Gable comes out, and then of course, like Jey Uso's kind of teasing Chad Gable, like, "Oh, the Wyatt Sicks, they didn't get you already? Like, what's going on with that?" And like Chad Gable talk about, "Oh, I'm not scared of the Wyatt Sicks. I'm not scared of Uncle Howdy or whatever." And he talks about Chad Gable states that Jey Uso stole the Fireflies and how he's innocent, and that they should be going after Jay, who abandoned his family. And now he's on this solo run. They're about to be in a civil war, but here you are, thriving in a solo run, being selfish, abandoning your family. So trying to like turn the ties or whatever. And this, of course, leads into a massive brawl. Chad Gable and Jey Uso kind of, coming to blows at one another, exchanging punches and everything. Chad Gable ends up trying to hightail it outside of the ring. All of a sudden, the lights go out. The lights in that Bray Wyatt-esque, like Fiend-esque, with all the lights going out. And again, you hear like Bray Wyatt's theme, that piano key on a loop once again. And then he exits through the crowd, and yet through every angle you see, like in a silhouette fashion, you see each Wyatt Sicks member. You see Eric Rowan. You see Joe Gacy. You see Dexter Lumis. In a shadow silhouette version of it, which was pretty darn badass.
It was really good.
And like Chad, it's like he's once again going through like a haunted house, like, and he's just like scared for his life. And I don't know if he maybe went up in section 205 and went to get a hot dog or somewhere. Well, actually, he went to go see Otis, as he's trying to be buddy with Otis. He's trying to like get him back on his side to fight off the Wyatts. And Otis is like, no, listen, this is your problem. Like, I'm not mad at you, but this is your problem. I said we're done, and I mean it. We're done. But Chad Gable's like, listen, they could come after you. They could come after everybody, trying to get him back on his side or whatever. So that was like a little short, 60 to 90 second promo segment there. And we'll get to this VHS tape later. But Brian, what are your thoughts about that, man? The opening segment to start the show.
I mean, everything the Wyatt Sicks is doing right now, I love it. I guess I'll have to wait until we get into the other segment, because I really, the more I think about it now, it's going to go down at Money in the Bank, and I think it's going to shock some people. Yeah, but I thought this segment was really good. The way they kind of stand in the shadows. Nikki Cross coming out there, playing her character, the smoke, the creepiness, the only thing I will say that is just stop it, I guess, is the security guard thing. Like, they're laid out right over the commentary table, and at least Michael Cole's acknowledging it now, but like it's weird. I don't know, unless you're going to use them as some, like, if you remember back in the day, sometimes like Undertaker would come out with like druids and shit. Unless you're going to do something like that, what is the deal with the security guards? I know that's like
yeah, like
just
dude, like
silly.
once again, like Nikki Cross, she delivers this VHS
Right,
tape to
right.
Cole, and you see these again, these secure. They're taking a nap, Brian. That's what they're fucking doing. They're taking
Right.
their short 30-second nap, and then they wake up, and then they sit in their chair, and they're just like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
To the point
You know,
now where
get
even
some food
like this
after this,
past
right?
week, like Michael Cole actually has to say, like, "Oh, we got some new security guards out here," because the other, like, what are we doing?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's just so odd. Like that's the only thing that baffles me is like the
yeah, yeah.
bodies being laid out, the security. But it's like, come on, man. Like that. Like I get it. It's like to maybe I don't know if it's just like more of a prop or maybe not a prop. If they did switch
I just think
security
it's
guards.
unnecessary. It's not like Nikki
Yeah. It's
Cross and the smoke is doing everything you need it to do.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. It's just very odd. It's just like. Especially again, what transpired last week. It's like those same security guards were on their feet, like they weren't just taking a nap for 30 seconds. It was just very
right.
weird. So yeah, no one, absolutely no doubt. By the way, Nikki Cross looks fantastic. I can't
Yep.
emphasize that enough with her look and everything. But let me get into this, or let's both get into this VHS tape that was played. So last VHS tape, of course, goes more into Bray Wyatt and the passing of Bray Wyatt. Now this was more about, Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy again in this same interview segment, the same Firefly Funhouse that they're in, and in the same interview segment. And Uncle Howdy talks about, do you really believe that you brought me and everyone else to life? And this was a really cool quote. Bo Dallas talks about, he's like, I'm the voice of the reckoning. And Uncle Howdy says, I am the reckoning. That reminds me of like a Breaking Bad type of spiel to where
Mhm.
talking about like danger. And then I forget who, I think it's, I forget who the character who plays it, but he says like, I am the danger. Right. So I just think that line was just really cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And Bo Dallas is talking about how, like talking about false prophets, using their advantage to their own gain. It's disgusting. Clearly talking about Chad Gable, if you think about it. And then so like I mentioned with the whole reckoning thing and talking about being the voice of reckoning, and Uncle Howdy's like, I am the reckoning. And, together they say, I'm nobody. I set them free. I gave them a family. And and this is also interesting too, as it also ends in like, Wyatt Sicks-esque with all the static and everything. And then that's when the VHS tape ends.
Mhm.
But Uncle Howdy always emphasized, like he says, oh, there you are. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's very interesting. That was the very last line that was said in the VHS tape when it officially cut off. It keeps emphasizing, like, oh, there you are. There, like, that's very interesting to me. So yeah, I mean, listen, obviously this was freaking tremendous. I did think that they were going to put more emphasis on the other characters, but it does seem like that they want this to be more of Bo and Uncle Howdy because these are the two that's kind of carrying the way. And I guess Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis, they're just the characters that have come to life. So there's really no real stuff that you need to go in depth about. They're legit the Bercy the Buzzard, Abby the Witch coming to life. So there's really like, hey, I set them free. I gave them a family, talking about the rest of the six for the most part. So, but what do you think, man? Because it seems like they're talking about Chad Gable, but with Jey Uso being inserted into this, there was a
Mhm.
segment after when the VHS tape was delivered. Jey Uso was like, it was kind of funny. He's like hiding like underneath the ring, and he's like, "Are they gone? Are they gone? Are they gone? Okay, they're gone. Okay, cool. Okay, one time, yeets, freaking and everything, right?" So I don't know. I mean, when he mentions false prophets, you would think it's Chad Gable because Gable is the leader of the Alpha Academy. He's been abusing his power to gain advantage for his own well-being. So you would think it's Chad Gable, but I guess they could spin it to maybe talk about Jey Uso because Jey Uso is now, I guess, the top face of Monday Night Raw while the Bloodline's going through a potential civil war. So I
Mhm.
don't know. But dude, Bo and Uncle Howdy, this VHS tape was again the highlight for me. And I love what they're doing with everything in regards to the Wyatt Sicks. And hopefully this progresses because the one thing I don't want to happen, Brian, is kind of similar to the QR codes before their debut, is for it to become redundant. Like
Right.
start to now evolve, keep doing these VHS tapes to a certain degree. I like it. but don't make it redundant to where like a month from now we're still kind of doing the same thing, so but we'll see. But Brian, what are your takes, man, about this Bo Dallas Uncle Howdy segment and this VHS tape, man?
Man, I got a little bit of a different take on you. I hear what you're saying with it, like don't be redundant, but like just with the VHS tapes alone, because I agree with you. I think they should do this with each of the members of the Wyatt Sicks, the Uncle Howdy, kind of like interview type thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think you could draw this out for months if you wanted to like. So like right now, it's other than Uncle Howdy or Bo Dallas, whatever you want to say, the most active member, I guess you would say, would be Nikki Cross, because she's the one delivering the tapes.
Delivering the messages, right. Mm-hmm.
So maybe you start with her and have, get her maybe targeting some female, and then, you see the setup of that feud. So then you have the interview with her. Mm-hmm. And then maybe another couple weeks down the road, now you get Gacy going after somebody, and then maybe you introduce his story. So I think you could draw this out if you wanted to with each of these members in a really, really cool way. But I hear what you're saying. Like, it can't just be always Bo and Uncle Howdy.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the same like cryptic messaging is what I mean. Like it's cool now, and you can still do that for maybe the next week or so. But yeah, like don't let that be like on a loop and just make it redundant and just be about Bo and Uncle Howdy, right? Like for now it's cool because they're the main characters of this shtick, right? Especially Uncle Howdy and Bo. I guess Bo is some type of entity, and it does gain a lot of questions like, oh, are they the same person? Are they talking to one another? Or is Bo Dallas talking to himself?
That's why I really like the end of it, of this video in particular, where it's, that staticky thing where it's like going back and forth, where you see Bo and then you see Uncle Howdy and then you see Bo and Uncle Howdy's gone, but then it ends with just Uncle Howdy. It's like telling you, like, Bo is Uncle Howdy now. He's like, Bo is gone. You know what I'm saying? So that I really like that aspect of it. But
absolutely.
I do think, man, like this is, it's like I don't know, man. I'm still torn because like Jay is still like with he was kind of like hiding and it's kind of making a little bit of a joke about it, not so that's where I'm still on the fence. Yeah. And I do think like the bloodline story's got to get going here, but man, I'm telling you, like, we never saw Chad Gable get attacked, right? He comes out there a week later. He's seemingly being spooked by the Wyatts, but they've had opportunities to attack him, and they didn't.
And they haven't done that, right?
And so I'm wondering, man, I'm thinking, bold prediction, last two Money in the Bank is Jay and Chad, and the Wyatt Sicks attack Jay. I don't know why exactly or how or what that means for Gable necessarily going forward. Well, for Gable, at least, I think winning the Money in the Bank and what we've talked about with Gunther possibly winning at SummerSlam, that's fucking perfect. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I don't know his ties to the Wyatt Sicks. But I'm leaning more towards the Wyatt Sicks attacking Jay at Money in the Bank, man.
And that could happen. Like we mentioned that they could kind of spin it in regards to like talking about false prophets to where you think it's about Chad, but it's also about Jay in regards
to, and I guess family. Like it's not Chad's real family. That's just
right. And I guess it's a way to, because we don't know when Jimmy Uso, his brother, is coming back, and we know the long-term game for Jay is to, fight alongside Roman and be a part of the Bloodline Civil War. So I don't know if this little shtick is just to kind of buy time for when the timing is right. Once we get towards the end of the summer, Jay Uso is now fighting alongside Roman and fighting against Solo and the Bloodline. So Yeah, no, I mean, and I do believe Chad Gable. If I had to pick anybody to win this briefcase, it's Chad Gable. I just think that for the timing of it and how much good work Chad Gable is doing, it just makes the most sense in regards to that. And everybody else, you look at Drew McIntyre, you look at even someone like Andrade, like Drew McIntyre, we know he's not going to win it, nor should he. It's just to further along himself and CM Punk. You got LA Knight there. We know LA Knight, as cool as it may be to a degree, LA Knight winning the matchup, it's to further along Logan Paul and that feud over there. Like you mentioned with Jay, that could maybe further along with the Wyatt Sicks. So you see the trend, though. There's potentially going to be a lot of interference. And that's what I'm afraid of, because I mentioned this last week, is that I wish and I hope, and I mentioned this last episode, I hope that this just isn't a redundant cluster of just people costing people this match. And I guess it depends on how they do it. Maybe like the Wyatts, they do it more in a cryptic, supernatural way, and then maybe Logan Paul does it in a different way, and then CM Punk maybe does it in a different way. Because they got to be careful on how they do that, to where it's
this match in particular has a lot of potential of like run-ins and shit, but as long as it ends with the Wyatt Sicks, I think I'd be okay with it. If Punk costs Drew somehow, and if Logan costs LA Knight somehow, as long as it ends with the Wyatt Sicks coming out there and doing something, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see where the whole Jay and Wyatt Sicks stuff goes. We'll have to see what the deal is with that. But because then you look at the rest of this playing field, right? Like we mentioned, LA Knight. We already mentioned Andrade is just going to be there just to do the flips and the dives and to be the highlight reel. Carmelo, you can say the same thing about Carmelo to kind of showcase him, as well as him being still new. I don't know why, but and I'm not saying like it's likely, but I don't know why. I can just see this company giving Carmelo the briefcase just to try to get him over, because lately that's what this company has been doing, is trying to get people. Yeah, I hope not either.
I mean, the last two in this match has to be Gable and Uso.
It's probably Gable. Yeah, you would. That's probably, and I think that's honestly what the case is going to be. And I think the only person that makes sense out of this entire playing field to win this is Chad Gable, just of everything that we just kind of went over there. So we'll see. I think it's a great opportunity, and it's perfect timing for Chad Gable, because he's doing really good stuff right now. He's been doing good stuff with Otis and everything. So we'll see moving forward. Here's how I want to end things, Brian. And I mentioned this on a TikTok just a couple days ago. And listen, there's a lot of things on Monday Night Raw that have a lot of potential, and there's a lot of things that we're hopeful about, and there's a lot of things that have, like I said, potential to be something and to be intriguing, right? We talked about, like I said, just with the Wyatt Sicks and the VHS tape, which honestly was the main takeaway and the biggest highlight of this show. There could be something there with Finn Balor and Priest. We talk about Liv Morgan and Dominic, a lot of assets that are very positive and should be acknowledged as such. But the one takeaway, Brian, that I have when it comes to Monday Night Raw in this show, and I mentioned this on our Facebook page that tied into our TikTok page. Again, make sure you follow us on TikTok. And that is, where are the top stars of this brand? And when I mean by top stars, I'm talking baby faces. You have Jey Uso. Cool. His main identity, though, is a tag team wrestler. We know what his longevity is going to be. We talked about the Wyatt Sicks. He'll do that for a certain amount of time. But the long-term plan for Jey is to most likely alongside his brother and Roman to fight off against Solo's bloodline. We know that's going to happen. It's evident. So we know that there's not really a long-term investment with Jey as a singles competitor, right? Right now, it's cool with the Yeet and everything, but we know when the time comes, Jey is going to be fighting alongside Roman and everyone else. So then you have a Sami Zayn, right? Sami Zayn right now is just fussling around the mid-card. He's got a match against Braun Breaker, which should be interesting, but he's been fussling around the mid-card, so I can't really say that he's a top face if he's fussling around the mid-card. So the only other face you have is Seth Rollins. And we know why Seth Rollins is even a part of this whole shtick with the world title. It's just to kind of, again, not to be a ploy, but that this company knows that Priest and Gunther is just not going to intrigue a lot of people, nor does it even truly make sense. So that's really it. You have Seth and his redundant shtick as your top face, and then you have CM Punk who's injured. But on SmackDown, Brian, you have LA Knight, you have Kevin Owens, you have Randy Orton, and you have Cody Rhodes, and you're going to get a babyface Roman Reigns at some point when he returns. You're going to have, and this is what's weird, you have Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, who are both going to be babyfaces on the same brand. On one end, that sounds cool, but what is that doing for Monday Night Raw when they have legit no babyface star power? And this is why, Brian, I mentioned about LA Knight. Why is LA Knight, out of all people, not on Monday Night Raw right now? Why is LA Knight not the top babyface star on Monday Night Raw alongside people like Dragunov, who can be a top babyface star of that brand, and many others, especially when CM Punk comes back? And yeah, you'll have Rhea Ripley when she comes back. She'll be a top face, and then potentially Becky Lynch. So I get it. They're trying to maybe hold out some time, but still, when it comes to also the male talent, where are the top baby faces? Because they were not on this show this past Monday Night on Raw. They just weren't. And that's the main thing that's missing in the show, is a true top face. And don't give me a Seth. Don't give me a Jey Uso. I'm talking an LA Knight. I'm talking a Cody Rhodes. I'm talking that type of babyface power. Roman Reigns is not going anywhere. He's going to stay on the blue brand. But having Cody and Roman, Brian, on the same brand just doesn't make sense for Monday Night Raw. Because, yeah, it sounds cool that they're on the same brand, but that's just not good business for Monday Night Raw when you have very little star power and babyface star power on Monday Night Raw. So with all that being said, Brian, what do you think in regards to my statement there? I'll let you have the floor. The floor is yours.
I think you kind of got two options here. Either when Roman does come back, you got to move Cody back over to Raw. Or
right, that's yeah.
Or I know initially he has to address some stuff with the bloodline initially, but what if, think about this, so if the Wyatt Sicks do attack Jay at Money in the Bank, Jay's got nobody, right? So what if Roman does something with the bloodline, or he's got to address a solo situation for sure, but then say like, hey, Jay's got nobody over here, I'm going to go back over here, how about Jay? Jimmy eventually comes back, and that's how you reform Jimmy, Jay, and Roman to then go after Solo. I'm just coming up with this shit off the top of my head.
So you're talking about
what if Roman goes to Raw?
I don't think that's going to happen, though. That's
you don't think
thing.
so?
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Either Roman has to go to Raw or Cody has to go to Raw.
I think Cody. I think Cody would have to go to Monday Night Raw because I just don't see Roman Reigns going off the blue brand, because I think that they want SmackDown to be mainly on the blue brand, and I think that they want to keep it on the blue brands, at least as of right now when Roman Reigns returns. So they want said bloodline to be on SmackDown. But yeah, it's either LA Knight needs to go to Raw or Cody Rhodes needs to go to Monday Night Raw, because having both of those two, Roman and Cody, on the same brand is not doing anything for Monday Night Raw at all. Right, it's just at all. And that's how, again, we talked about with Gunther. Well, now Gunther's going to have this world title, because I was thinking, honestly, Gunther and Cody in the future, but now with Gunther holding on to this world title potentially. So yeah, it's just, and now you're going to have two titles on the same brand, but maybe then Gunther then goes over to SmackDown. I don't know. Whatever sense, they got to obviously make some sense out of it, but go ahead, Brian.
I'm just thinking and this all hinges on if the Wyatt Sicks attack Jay. If the Wyatt Sicks attack Jay, maybe it's Jimmy. Maybe Jimmy comes back, but either Jimmy or Roman are going to have to come back to Raw to help Jay. One of the two.
I would say it's probably
and then they're going to have to get Roman back in that fold somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I don't want to make too many assumptions with that, but you would think, I guess, that with Jay's part, and I don't know when Jimmy's coming back because Jimmy still has this injury.
Right.
He still has this injury, but I think right now to defend off the Wyatts or the Sicks is Jimmy and Jay getting back together in a tag team for the most part. Because again, Jay's not really selected to any said brand. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Brian, Roman Reigns was never drafted.
Oh, that's
so Roman Reigns could go to Monday Night Raw. Now that I'm thinking about it now, he's not even. But the thing is, though, Brian, I still don't think that's still going to happen. I still think WWE wants Roman to stay on SmackDown to tell the story with the Bloodline. But they could do that because he wasn't drafted. Neither was Jimmy Uso. So
Jimmy wasn't drafted, because that's right, because the Bloodline wasn't drafted, right?
Or no, well, Solo's faction was drafted to SmackDown alongside with Heyman, Tongaloa, and Tama Tonga. They were drafted. But
Jimmy wasn't drafted either?
Jimmy was not drafted, no, because Jimmy's hurt. So Jimmy is technically, I guess, a free agent, if you want to call it. So, yeah, I mean, you could make sense out of that, but the problem is, Brian, I just don't see Roman going to Monday Night Raw. I just don't see it for the most part. I hear what you're saying. I just don't think WWE is going to do that for the most part. But that's the thing, man. There's just a massive star power issue on Monday Night Raw right now. As good as a lot of things are, there's that massive star power. I talked about Dragunov, man. Like, Dragunov, and who knows? I know, Brian, you talked about maybe Imperium and maybe alongside, that's how you further along, maybe Gunther and Dragunov. I get it, man. But dude, Dragunov is so damn good. He could arguably, because of how good he is, right? He could be a top babyface star of this company alongside an LA Knight. And when CM Punk comes back, now you got something. And like Dragunov in his booking, man, he loses another fucking matchup in the Money in the Bank qualifying match, bro. Yeah. His booking is so odd. It's so fucking weird. By the time you get to that matchup against Gunther, hardly most people are not going to really be intrigued as they are now or several weeks ago. They're just not going to, the way you've been booking Dragunov as of late.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's some good things. There's some intriguing things, but Monday Night Raw, that's just right now, if I had to pinpoint anything, that's the main problem with Monday Night Raw. There's not a Cody Rhodes, there's not an LA Knight, there's not a Roman Reigns on that show. All of those people are on SmackDown. You need to have that person on Monday Night Raw, or else it's just going to be, there's just going to be something missing. There's going to be that empty gap that needs to be filled on Monday Night Raw until then. So
we shall.
Mm-hmm.
The babyface talent is head and shoulders on SmackDown above Raw for sure.
Absolutely, and I say that mostly for LA Knight because like LA Knight he should be thriving on Raw because of, again, Orton's not going to go anywhere. Kevin Owens, and I mentioned Sami Zayn. Like Kevin Owens is, if you really think about it, Brian, Kevin Owens is booked more as a top star fighting alongside the Bloodline than Sami Zayn is fussling around the mid card. So you would think Kevin Owens is more of a top star than Sami Zayn is. But of course, like he's more at the bottom of the totem pole, of course, but still a top star, a babyface star. And then, dude, when you have Roman Reigns, bro, coming back like that, the star power of babyfaces is going to be gigantic. But what does that do for Raw? So I don't know how they're going to spin it. I don't know how they're going to book it, but something has got to give for Monday Night Raw because that massive hole.
Also, not to keep it going, but I do think they're attempting to make Priest maybe one of those faces, but he's not there yet. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. And I don't know that he does get there to that degree. I
agree. Yeah, because I still think that Priest still has a lot more to offer as a heel, being by himself, not just with the Judgment Day now, but by himself, and he's doing really well. And if you keep that shtick up with Priest, maybe some down the road, maybe later on this year, he can be that baby face if you book him properly. But right now, turning him face right now, him being the top face of Monday Night Raw alongside a Seth Rollins and a Jey Uso.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming for sure. Like whenever it comes down with Judgment Day, like Priest is a face. Like they're doing that for sure.
We'll see. I don't agree. I'm not with it, but that could potentially happen. It doesn't matter what I think; they could still potentially do it. So, but we shall soon find out, man. But this was the go home show to Money in the Bank. So, still decent show. I mean, nothing was outside of the VHS tape, which I loved.
I did too. Yeah.
Outside of that, nothing was truly that over the top. It was, again, nothing truly bad outside of Cross being rolled up, freaking Sheamus being rolled up in his qualifying match. And again, the match with Dominic and Ray just wasn't needed and was very lazy, especially how it looked on Zelina Vega's part. But outside of that, man, it was decent. And then you had, of course, Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy in that VHS tape that really just stood head above shoulders above everything else, to be quite honest. So, but we'll see. In regards to it, we got Money in the Bank this weekend, and we'll see how everything plays out as we review that show. And speaking of that show, your boy Brian Thomas, my co-host, is going to be hosting the show.
Got a couple guests confirmed. So be me and two other people, so other content creators. So looking forward to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and stay tuned to see who those guests are. It's going to be. I'm intrigued to see how the finishing touches are going to be for that for that show. But yes, your boy, I am not going to be a part of the show. Unfortunately, you're not going to see me and my bearded, beloved face for quite some time. But you'll see a lot more Brian Thomas, a lot of his takes, of course, with Money in the Bank, the fallout of Money in the Bank over the next week or so. But stay tuned for it, man. There's still a lot more content to cover and a lot more stuff to go over, even on AEW's end as well. So make sure you stay tuned for it. But of course, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of today's episode, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel. We are 7 subscribers away on YouTube for 200 subscribers. So make sure you spread the word, you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. So that way you don't miss an announcement for when an episode is about to drop on our YouTube channel. So make sure you do that. Of course, follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram and on TikTok. That is ruthless_talk. Thank you guys so much for following both of those pages, as well as joining our beloved Facebook page. Thank you guys. This platform and our community is growing by the day and by the week. And I'm very blessed and thankful for all of you guys to have listened to our show and to be along for the ride. And I can't thank y'all enough. And it's been crazy. And we shall see where things go, as there's still a lot of work and a lot still of more content to be published out. And yeah, a lot more fun stuff to come. Brian, your final thoughts before we end the show?
Yeah, man. Just first of all, shout out to my 2 guests that are coming on this Sunday, man. I appreciate you both. Looking forward to it and talking about Money in the Bank and the fallout. And man, with just wrestling in general, man, I think this summer, really, even in AEW, there's a couple things that could turn out to be really good, man. So
absolutely,
the rest of this summer, SummerSlam coming up, All In, like I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am.
Yeah, and same, absolutely. There's even on AEW's end, there's a lot to look forward to. But again, we're on eggshells.
Eggshells with AEW for sure, man.
Habit and hope, bro. I say that like a broken record. It's habit and it's hope. Not just with AEW, but WWE and pro wrestling as a whole. So, but that is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off, saying salute.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Top guys.
Out.